Thank you so much for coming. I think you all here know why we're here to celebrate the release. It's about 48 hours old at this point, I think.
Very neat.
Look at that little guy. You can still see it.
Yeah, he saw it before I did. Yeah, he convinced me I could do it.
It's still there. So we're here to talk a little bit about that, and then the people lucky enough to be in the room are going to meet Mike and get their records signed.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Shall we talk a little bit about Michael?
Yeah, actually, yeah, Mike. When you say Mike, I always think about my dad. So there's three of us, right? There's four of us, really. There's my dad, Mike. There's me, Michael. There's my son, Michael, and my daughter, Michael. So when you say Mike, I keep thinking about my father.
Okay, well,
and he was a cop. He was a little more square than me.
So that was something I was thinking about when I was reading the lyrics and listening to the record. How many people call you Michael now?
Mostly everybody.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, you were family rise on Michael, and my daughter is Mikey, and
all right.
Michael.
So somebody just says Mike, and then like four people turn their heads.
Yeah, because there's a Mike with me. My cinematographer guy who travels around me, his name is Mike too. So, so I'm the Mike. I always get stuck with Michael, which I'm pretty cool with. I like Michael. Yeah.
Well, now that's the winner one.
Yeah, for a dyslexic kid, it takes you a minute to figure out not making the A the E. You know what I mean?
I still have that trouble.
Yeah.
I still have that trouble.
Yeah, it took one teacher to tell me that would make you Michelle, and I was like, oh, okay. I probably
Teachers find a way. So this is a record about Michael. This is a record about him and the journey to him.
Yeah.
Right? So why now did you want to tell everybody in the world about this person?
Oh, man, you could have a great job and still want to pursue your passion. And God has truly blessed me. I've been a professional musician for 20 years, and I came in as a member of the Dungeon family as an attaché of Outkast back when, rappers had crews and stuff. And I had the time of my life. It was beautiful, made some dope music, dope albums. Went out on the mixtape circuit for three, 4, 5 tapes, I think, had a ball. Became half of what I feel like arguably is one of the best rap groups ever been. Currently, I believe us to be the best rap group touring and going. And then you realize and be like, shit, I still never introduce people to me. They've always got a version of me that was in relation to something or someone else, in regards to a guy running for president or who's running for state senators. They never just got Michael. And people start dying. COVID happened. You get older. That once you get into your 40s, people start. You go to Facebook like, oh shit, there's a funeral. And I was just like, I would like for my mother died. My mother died 6 years ago, and I realized when Denise left that she left an amazing legacy in me and two of my sisters. And if I didn't tell my story, then I would go. And no one would have known this amazing story of this 16-year-old girl who dared to have a child in the mid-'70s when they begged her to drop out of school, and she wouldn't. And abortion had only been legal 2 years, and her mother had a discussion, and she opted not to. Her mother says, if you want, even though religiously I don't believe in this, my mother said, no, I want to have a child. I meant to have a child. I did this on purpose. So I wanted to just tell my story, which heavily involves my mother and my grandmother, heavily involves the community I grew up in, heavily involves the people that invested and poured into me. And I just thought that much like Run the Jewels is the Uncanny X-Men. You never know who's going to pop up. You never know which character's going to pop up. You never know what we're going to do. It's zany. It's a caricature created by this 9-year-old kid who is Michael. And I wanted the world to meet the son of Denise and Michael. I wanted them to meet the boy who Betty and Willie raised. And I wanted them to meet a black kid that grew up confident and competent from a black mixed income enclave. Because all black. My whole world was black. I don't have the typical story of when I say I got it out the mud, it's because they sent our ass to a farm every summer, right? My great grandparents had a farm in Tuskegee, so when I say I got it out the mud, they literally just sent our little black asses to the farm. You're going to appreciate a good education in paved streets because you're going to spend the summer with a donkey. You know what I mean? and what I realize is that my story is a unique one. That's not everyone's story, and in the story of the west side of Atlanta. deserve to be told. The story of a family that migrated out of Tuskegee in Edenton, Georgia, to create a life in Atlanta deserved to be told. And the story of this 9-year-old kid that decided he was going to be a rapper and told his 25-year-old mother who was smoking a joint and said, fuck it, we gonna do it. That deserved to be told. And I just wanted to tell that story and all of these characters that have helped me to mature along the way. I just wanted to tell our story.
So I'm going to go out of order on my notes.
That's fine.
Because this is just a conversation.
Yeah.
It's a nice conversation. So that story, very uniquely yours, you have let little pieces out.
Yes.
There were, tribute songs to your grandfather. You've talked about your mother. You've talked about your grandmother. You've talked about the women at the church who helped raise you. All of that has come out a little bit.
If you listen to the Run the Jewels records, the clues are all in there. You know what I'm saying? When I talk about, the type of woman my mother was, the clues are in there. This just gives you the full story. Like, oh, this motherfucker wasn't just joshing and rapping. His mother trafficked cocaine. Like, you know what I mean? At 15 years old, I wake up and we saw my mother was arrested for attempting to buy 10 kilos of cocaine and traffic from Griffin, Jordan, Atlanta. And the first thing she said when she got out was, God damn it, the motherfucking crackers took half my money. It was 20. And I was like, oh shit. My grandmother was the first time I saw her go to a root lady. My grandmother was devoutly Christian, but the first time I saw my grandmother go to what they call a root lady, or someone who practiced an African traditional spiritual system, was when my mother got locked up. These are stories that are coming. I haven't even told these, but yeah. So I left the nuggets, but I wanted you to see it's for real. This isn't just rap, So you
just took this record on tour around the country.
Yeah.
A very different type of tour. Then I will say a very different type of show than the 4 you've just done with Jules. Celebrating 10 years, 4 sold-out shows in New York City, and about to go out on more sold-out shows. Mm-hmm. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So this revival, I believe, is what?
Yeah, it was the High and Holy tour, the Midnight Revival. Me and the Midnight Revival. Yep.
What was that like? And taking it to places like Seattle, which is, nobody's experience is the same.
Yeah.
But you're going to places that are really different.
Yeah. So it's a revival. I can remember my grandmother, man, she would make us go to these revivals. My grandmother believed in Jesus. Oh, my God, she believed in Jesus. And that was just, if Jesus had brought a revival through in the middle of the week, we were going. But the thing that was interesting about revivals is the people that normally went to church, you saw the church-going people on Sundays. But the revival, man, you might see the dope man there with his mama. You're like, what the fuck he doing in church? The girls that dance at the club, you're like, man, everybody, your friends who you didn't even know went to church, they there. It was a time for everyone to, and I used to think it was about religion, but it wasn't. It was really about motivation. What revivals give you is a Les Brown, Tony Robbins-like experience through religion, by encouraging working class people. You can make it through this week. You cannot beat your boss's ass and get fired tomorrow. You're going to release it all tonight. And I wanted to bring that to people without saying you have to follow a particular doctrine, but to have people come out to exchange energy, be celebratory together. And I just created an environment that was much like the small churches that I grew up in. There was a woman named Bishop Jean. She was short, she was round, and this is, if you guys aren't familiar with, Southern Baptist or Holiness or Pentecostal, they frowned upon to wear red in a church. Red fingernail polish, red. She would wear red head to toe and preach the word of God. And it's a picture of me and my 2 sisters and my grandma and my Uncle John at her church. And I just always thought it was an amazing picture because she was a proud, godly woman, but she did not mind dressing like the streets had once knew her name. And I wanted to bring that experience because much of what I do on stage in terms of testimonials and the songs and the energy, I emulate from this woman pastor named Bishop Jean, who was just made a profound influence on my life.
So another woman.
Absolutely, yeah.
So when do you think, I've read interviews and seen, there's actually a really wonderful video on your YouTube channel right now where you take, is it Elliot Wilson through your childhood and talk. And I think in part of that you were talking about how this music kind of was the thing and words were the thing, mm-hmm. right? That you connected to and caught on to.
Yeah.
And in a way, that is like you said, the testimonial. That's
Yep.
the motivational speaking. That's what you heard, and so now that's what you're bringing through these revivals and also the records. Is that your way of getting the moral good out there?
Well, I can't say. I say not a holy man, but a moral in my perverseness. So I support the sex workers unionizing their services. True story. There was a club named Pinups. I didn't go for like 10 years because the girls were attempting to unionize, and the owners wouldn't allow them to form a union. So I was like, well, I won't be tipping there anytime soon. And I think, like, just, going very quick politically, I think part of the way you cure what people view as perversions, it's become more accepting and understanding. If you want to go to a club in Atlanta and see girls dance naked, and a woman wishes to use her body, just like an athlete would wish to use their body to profit, that should be at her discretion. And the city should not require her to get a license in every goddamn club, because now you're just tax gouging her. So I supported, radically, different things. So for me, I forgot the question again, a little stone, but.
Mellow out that much.
But what I'm saying on that is, man, I don't have the same judgments. I just wish for the whole human being and experience, so long as you're not hurting or infringing on others, to be. So I'll come back to whatever the original question was. But
no, you were close.
When I say I support them, I really do support them.
You were very close. It was basically about using music as a motivational tool to get the moral across. So
what I'm saying is, I'm not coming from a place of morality in general terms. Like, I'm not coming from a preachy place. I'm coming from a place of, as an artist, I have experienced suffering. I've experienced joys. I've experienced the trenches. I've experienced the triumphs of the crescents. And I just wanted to give you all that. There's no morality attached to it, in the sense of I'm giving you a doctrine. You are morally good. And you learn. A child learns oftentimes by taking and seeing another child cry and then feeling bad. And you have to encourage and help them understand. There's an effort now to protect children from all harm. But like my grandpa and Dick Gregory, this was Dick Gregory. So he said they mostly made of water. They're gonna fall. I can remember my grandmother trying to teach me about heat. And when I didn't understand, she put my hand to it, and I was like, oh, and she said, now you know. So my record is more like that. More like, I'm not trying to, I'm showing you how I gained my morality. Until I sat down next to a woman who I looked at like an auntie, and she just talked to me and made me blush like a little boy. For young men, hearing a woman talk about sex can already be a little traumatic, because we don't know what to do with our body parts. Our dads don't tell us. We're just in the bathroom trying not to pee on everything, right? And my aunt, she says to me, she said, I don't know what y'all little niggas think y'all special, because y'all selling a little dope. You done made $10,000 in a weekend. Shit, I fuck the niggas y'all get your dope from. And I was like, oh, this shit turned into like a soap opera moment. But she was letting me know, like, as a woman, the older boys you look up to have desired me. And I could have them as easily, but I don't want to give my body in exchange, so I'm a shopping with y'all. It was just like, it was that, I'll never forget understanding the power of femininity in that conversation, because she made me blush. I was flush as a white person getting sunburned, and I'm dark. but I understood after that she had, her morality is here. My mom was known amongst gangsters and hustlers and big time folks, and all of them all said the same thing, man. Your mama was a G. Your mama was not laid up under no man trying to get something. Anything she wanted, she earned. Now, the guy she dated, and they were in love, and that's, her picture still hangs in this house, but she like, your mother was not for everybody. And I don't know how many of you all have everybody I meet who are tagging the Jewish, they got an uncle that was in the mob. So everybody know who black had somebody who trapped. But that's a noble thing to say, that my person made it through the streets without being damaged, without being used and abused. So, I think that our morality, I think as human beings, before they even give us books and teach us, we have a moral compass. And what I try to do in my music is encourage that versus tell you what it is.
I do like the idea that when I first heard the lyric that that's just the Niecy in you.
Yeah, that's
right. So there's some in you, Niecy, your mom. There's some of that in you. There's some in your sister.
Yeah. I could be mean. Yeah.
There's some in your daughters too.
Yeah, man, they some mean boy shit. Those fucking girls, boy. You see why lionises do the hunting? Like, shit, man. I was arguing with my daughter, my oldest daughter, once, like a month or two ago, and she called me the next day like, Dad, I just want to let you know I love you. I know it can get intense between us. I was like, shit, motherfucker. I was just calling the lawyer to take you out of the wheel, you know? But we both made our points, but she just reminded me so much of my mother in that moment, and my youngest daughter too, who can get, they're just, girls are supposed to be badass. My mom taught me that. She showed me that as an example.
Agree.
So, if a girl is adventurous and curious, I encourage it. And I've encouraged it with my daughters, but I didn't realize God has an amazing sense of humor, so he gave me twice. You know what I mean? So the arguments get lively in my household, but they're for the greater good, because I heard very young, someone say, if you want to educate one person, educate a man. If you want to educate a nation, educate a woman. And my mother had done a great job of that, and I wish my daughters to do the same thing.
Right. Sounds like they're on the right path.
Yeah.
I do want to talk a little bit about success and the idea of success.
I'm successful?
Yeah.
Should
yeah.
I'm trying.
So I'm not the first, and I know it's okay to make this comparison. Because you told me it was. I don't know if you remember, but it was back there.
I'm a fan of the person you're going to compare
you told me that there is the idea that you may be sort of the Bruce Springsteen of rap.
I'll fully receive that and accept that. Yeah, fully fucking receive it.
In terms of coming from, telling the stories, relating to a certain blue collar, working class of people.
That's what I am. Yeah.
So, okay, good. Now that you're okay with that. The idea in some of his songs is like, I made it out. I got out. I just kept going. I floored the car and I just kept going. You, though, in several of your songs, you very much talk about the success. There's a line in Motherless about, I really love this, a black boy born to a teen mama had a conversation with the Dalai Lama mama. I mean,
that was the original. I changed that one after the controversy, but it was a better line. It says, a black boy born to a teen mama gets regarded as a leader by his people mama. I don't believe, so all the kids who wanted to be leaders when we were in the third grade, they became leaders. A lot of them just became assholes, it's like fucking Jennifer. We knew you were gonna be a judge, but you didn't have to break everybody's balls, in the third grade. But then you have leaders that are they're just there to lead, and unwillingly most of the time, And what I've learned about leadership is that there is no one in absolute, and the best leaders know when to digress and encourage others to lead. And so when people refer to me as a leader, when I'm smoking a joint in front of my hotel trying to get stoned before I come here, and a delivery guy stops, then I don't have a tip for him just to shake my hand on his way to a delivery, that means a lot to me. Because that man is working. And that man is working to take care of not himself, but someone else, whether partner, children. In my case, tradition, you think of, I got a woman and children at home. So those things that people view me in that way means I take that responsibility very seriously, because I didn't want it. It's not something I ambitiously sought, from an ambition standpoint, sought out. I didn't want to be a school patrol. I didn't run for student government. The one time I ran for class president, I lost to Zuela fucking Harris, who I love to this day. Her mom was a psychologist at Georgia Tech. Her mom was a brilliant woman. But I remember losing to Zuela, just like, I'm never doing this shit again. But I remember my friends telling me afterwards, like, man, we voted for you because we knew you could do it. So when David, when Dave Chappelle says that to me 30, 40 years later, I'm understanding that there are certain things that are about my characteristic that people at times want me to step up, and at the times are right, I step up and do what I do. But my goal is to be right back in front of that hotel smoking a joint, saying what's up to one of you guys. And that's the type of leadership I trust.
So I'm going to get back to my train of thought, but I just want to say most people put out documents about themselves. They're usually books. It could be a record. Yeah. So if there's any sort of announcement you'd like to make in the next, little while about a campaign, I'm not. I mean, they do. They release books before they announce. This is, just saying. We'll go on. We'll come back to that. We'll come back.
The White House would definitely smell like marijuana if I was there. No question. No coke, though. Shouts out my nigga Hunter. Joking.
I think there's a campaign slogan in there somewhere. So by Exit 9, which is a song on the record, which I'm not going to say it's my favorite. It's the one I listen to the most.
If it's your favorite, that's
stands
good.
out. Well, I don't know if it's my favorite, but
if you listen to it the most.
The one that stood out the most. I think maybe it's because it's so different sonically than some of your other songs. I remember them days making minimum wage.
Yeah.
I was trying to maintain. Look how far I done came. Pop champagne for the pain. Better than Advil.
Yeah.
I'm campaigning for change. Oh, campaigning. All the progress we made, bigger things on the way.
Bigger things are on the way.
I feel like you wouldn't just, I mean, sure, you'd take the car for a ride and you'd floor it, but you would turn around and come back to make where you got out from a better place for the people that are still there.
I didn't get out. I don't have the fetish of escapism. So I grew up here on the front street, which is Collier Drive, which is when our mayor, once he went to Georgia Tech, once he graduated, places like that, did good as a city councilman, finally became mayor, he moved to that neighborhood on the same street. Well, this is where the working class houses were on that street. And about 1, 2, 3 streets deeper was the black economic power base of Atlanta. The Herman Russell family was there. Billy and Cynthia McKinney were there. Dr. King's parents moved there. So I grew up in this border of working class houses, of this enclave of middle class, upper working class, and rich black folk. So when I'm talking about the west side of Atlanta, is I didn't want to leave. I want to leave where I grew up. John Stockton was one of my favorite players. John Stockton left Utah every year, went back to his street where he bought a house, and he went back to his same. John Stockton weighed 175 when he went in the league, weighed 175 when he came out the league. John Stockton remained John Stockton.
My family's from Spokane. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Come on, man. You got to love John. I couldn't be Michael if I didn't have that John Stockton-esque thing about me. I cannot leave the west side of Atlanta. I'm sorry, I can't. And now I moved far enough so the robbers don't want to come get me. You know what I mean? And I got enough guns to shoot back, but I'm just like, I couldn't leave. I couldn't get away because the first time I saw a black person of education, it was there. First time I saw a black person of prominence politically, it was there. First time I saw a black person that I knew was a millionaire, was there. And I'm talking about riding my bike. I'm talking about come outside and speak to you. Ask how your mama doing. My mother went to school with Bernice King. My mother went to school with the Herman Russell's family children. My mother went to school with the guy who owned the strip club. You know, black-owned strip club. Went to school with him too. So I don't know escape. I don't want to get away. I want to reinvest. So when you look at the fact that my wife and I are into affordable housing and making sure that people who are working class can not only live but have the proper school, have proper education and confidence to know that they're competent, I'll invest right in the neighborhood I grew up in. T.I., a good friend of mine, a lot more money, he a lot more hit records, bought the old Kmart for $1 million, builds 143 affordable housing units, and is working his ass off to get a grocery store there. We bought a 50-year-old restaurant right down the street, Bankhead Seafood, that was an in-and-out kind of dive bar thing. And we didn't wait for investors to come in and say, hey, we want you to do us like you're doing in Harlem and say, you know, come in and knock out the old coffee shop, put up a Starbucks. No. We're going to buy it and we're going to build our own restaurant you can sit down. So now your mama fish, you ain't got to worry about it getting cold because y'all going to eat right there. That's what I'm doing, mama. Now, I want to be buying drugs and bigger cars and all kind of other cool shit, you know what I mean? But I have a responsibility to make sure that the community I grew up in is fertile enough to grow more children who can chase their wildest dreams. You know, and it is that simple, that I don't have a choice on it. My grandmother said, when I remember asking her one time, like what we got to go campaigning for? Because that's what you're supposed to do. That was it. I'm there because that's where I'm supposed to do. And I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. So I didn't make it out of nowhere. I moved physically. I worked different hours. You ain't going to see me in the club maybe at 3 in the morning in the old neighborhood. But at 3 in the afternoon, I'm standing in my auntie front yard. Her telling me I need to accept Christ in my life. I ain't going to go to heaven. And lose some weight. You don't want to die, have somebody humping on your young wife. You know what I mean? So, but I'm still there. And what I would like to be ultimately is what Herman Russell was for me. Herman Russell he grew up in the dire straits of poverty in the neighborhood my father came out of, called Summer Hill in Peoplestown. Started a shoe shine business. The city wouldn't even give this man a permit as a child to start a shoe shine business. So they forced him to be an outlaw. He started shining his own shoes. Saved enough money to buy a lot. Realized the city misallocated him the wrong lot. The lot belonged to somebody else. So he had ended up building a house on the lot, but it belonged to him. White man who owned the lot worked a deal with him. He ended up buying the other lot, ended up 2 lots. Went to Tuskegee University, got his degree, started a drywall company. Ended up being one of the first recipients of when we had a black mayor mandatory, you have to have 29% of your business have to be involved in or owned by African-American or minority because of Maynard Jackson. That's another name you should Google. Man ends up becoming one of the largest real estate developers in the Southeast. I went to good schools because he lived 3 streets behind me. He pays a higher tax base. Michael Render goes to Collier Heights. Michael Render goes to Frederick Douglass. Michael Render scholarships in the Morehouse. So I'm not leaving. I'm here. No matter who don't like me or who think I should be more radical, less radical, I'm here. I'm doing what my grandmother told me I'm supposed to do.
Well, all right. I made him wait to look at this because as I believe this is the first time you're really looking at it since it's come out. Not this. This is a lovely poster. So let's talk a little bit about your musical community. You came out of, you mentioned earlier, some really great Atlanta musical communities. And one of the things I love, I'll take your mic, or we'll figure out how you can look at it all. Fine. It's beautiful. Oh, wow. One of the things I love about hip hop is the way that bringing in guest artists as a collab is the way it's done. That's really just what you do. Can you talk a little bit about the people who are on this record with you?
Oh, man, so many. I'm going to forget even in mentioning, but let me just say there was no guest that I sat down like, what do we have the budget to afford? Because, thank God for Concord and Loma Vista and Villains, my company. My wife didn't see me bleed in our account, but about $250,000, she was like, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? And I was like, I'm making the album of my life. And she was like, nigga, is you crazy? These are the real conversations. Anybody who follows me knows this is how me and Shay really talk. But I was like, no, I have to do this because before I go. So the people that are on the record heard the record. The producers, first of all, producers are in the business of when they hot, the price is up. They can Corey Moe, I gotta thank. The record, the first record you hear on there, Down by Law, was a freestyle started during the last year of Obama's presidency. And I asked him, I said, I'm gonna use it, you just gotta hold it for me. Now imagine that. Somebody, you got something worth some money. and you all you gotta do is sell it, and somebody say, oh, trust me. And they are part of this successful rap group, they ain't worried about it, but just trust me, so I want to appreciate Corey for doing that because a lot of people would not have and could not have. I understand capitalism and the way it works. But he did. And not only did he do that, he said, hey, man, because he's from Houston. Hey, Mike, what if we put CeeLo on it? And I said, from Goody Mob? He's like, yeah. I was like, that's a great fucking idea. And, man, he just held it for me and cultivated it and helped rub that record into something amazing. And right where we're at the top, I got to give credit to Cuz Lightyear, who's an artist on Mass Appeal, a friend of mine since the Grind Time mixtape days, like a brother to me. I'm his son's godson. Shout out to Bricks. Cuz put his own career on pause to A&R this album. So the people that heard the record were naturally just saying, well, I want to get on that. I brought Ty Dolla just to listen. Ty wanted on the record, but I'll say, what do you think about 2 Days? Because it talks about kind of our prison system, how broken it is. Ty took that and heard another record, said, I want both. Send me both of them and sent it back. When it comes to Eric Allen Kane, who was on 4 or 5 records, Hannibal Burrs is a friend of mine, just brought her through. I didn't realize how incredible her story was, how much of an angelic, soulful voice she had. She's from Detroit. Like, God knew what he was doing. He showed off making her voice. When it comes to, man, Lena Bird Miles, I didn't understand I was getting one of the greatest gospel voices in the world. I was just like, damn, she dope. She cool, I like her. When the people, Damo on the bass, Agape on guitar, these were people that we just invite in to listen, and they'd find a place for themselves. And
it was just like open door policy. And that's what was so beautiful. Even with Dre, I'd been used to last decade to ask Dre to feature on stuff with Run the Jewels. You know, I'm trying to get Run the Jewels. This is my retirement play. This shit gonna fuck around and work. We the best in the motherfucking world. You know what I'm saying? We got Mavis Staples, you know what I mean? And man, he had always said, man, y'all hard. This is dope, but I'm just not into. And he came through and listened to the record and said the next day, can I bring y'all some stuff? Can I bring some stuff tomorrow for y'all to hear? And brought it back and said, pick what you want. One of the ones we picked, he took back. We kept the one that we got, and he sent another. We got another. Trey and I got another thing that's amazing together. So I'm just blessed. I'm blessed that Currency and 2 Chainz are my real friends. You know what I mean? And you get to call your real friends and say, hey, man, I got a Dope Boy song for us. We ain't even got to talk about dope. It's like, this is the song all the drug dealers play at a barbecue when they bring their cars out. You know what I mean? So getting the chance to do Spaceship Views with them was amazing. Getting a chance to have Black on my album, who, you know, I just love what he and kids like JID have done in terms of coming off that East Side Atlanta corridor, in terms of pushing music up. Even kids like Kenny Mason, Nudie, it's just been amazing. So everyone who came, honestly, it was so organic. Down to the Nudie, I'll give you the Nudie feature. So I'm chasing Nudie. So Nudie, a street kid, right? Got an amazing moment happen. He ain't got time to sit still for no 40-something-year-old rapper to be calling him, talking about will you feature on something that's going to be on my deluxe. Nudie uncatchable. I can't catch Nudie through the streets. I can't catch him through Jay, who can catch everybody. I can't catch him through his manager. Y'all know how I call Nudie. Say how. Nudie mama went to school with me. Nudie mama said, Killer Mike calling you for a feature? Yeah, you gonna do that, and you ain't even gonna charge him. So Nudie's mama is probably gonna get a beautiful purse from me at some point this year, because it's good to know that just being a cool motherfucker in A-Lunch when I was 15 led me to working with a young artist I just think is dope. So I just it was just organic, and I appreciate people for blessing me.
The women are still looking out for you.
Yeah, right. Hey, people. You know, some of the guys that are a little more extreme, they caught it. They got a little pissed about it. I don't give a fuck. They were just like, when I said maybe she mad at us, you know, because we worshiping all these false gods. And then I say that because as a child, man, I saw my mother. She was God, and I honestly believe that whatever put us here, if it does not have a feminine nature, it is not whole. You know, there must be a balance. My grandmother made sure all the girls knew how to cut their own grass, and she made sure all the boys knew how to sew their own buttons on. You know, so I think that there's a balance. So in my mind, you know, God is as much a black woman as it has ever been a white man represented in my mind.
Much as I would love to end on that, I want to ask you a little bit more about this.
Oh, yeah, this is beautiful.
And I want to shout out your grandfather.
Willie Burke.
Because he told you, if you can't hold it, you can't own it.
You can't own it. Yeah.
And I told him backstage, he said that in the video where he gave us for record stores to put up on their sites to say, this record is out. And by the way, the vinyl is the deluxe version with 3 bonus tracks on it. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
The idea of physical, a CD or a record, that is so important, obviously, to me. Capitalism. I work for record stores. But just there is a connection, and this is obviously a record that means so much to you.
Oh, so much. This is my first time really seeing this too, guys, so forgive me.
The idea of it coming physically, I want to thank your grandfather for instilling that into you.
Oh, man, Burke, man. My grandfather grew up, he was the kindest, most gentle, most sweet man I've ever known in my life. And we knew he killed at least 2 people in his life. And I say that because, usually when we say that, you hear about, a guy who's an intellectual who got killed by government or some crazy, or just never had the balls to step it up as they was. But my grandpa, man, was a manly man, man's man. He fished, he hunted, he had done all these things. But he called us baby our whole life. Hey, baby, how you doing? And he was a jokester. I remember coming in my first time I had a high right, low left haircut. Say, hey, man, how I look, Poppy? He said, well, it looked like you sat down in the barber's chair and told them, fuck me up, and they obliged you. He say, and they obliged you. I went crazy.
But he would give me this sage wisdom and advice, and he was a stronger foundational reader as maybe a second grader. His father left when he was 7 or 8. He had to go work at a sawmill in the 3rd grade and drop out of school to help his mother and sisters along. So he valued education. Even when we were reading words he didn't understand, he'd have us sit in his lap and just read. So we'd get the confidence, but he taught me how to count, in my head. He could do numbers in his head. But he told me, he gave me some advice. He said, hey, you can't own nothing you can't hold in your hands. And some stuff is too big to hold, so you can't own it all, but you can own this little plot of land, you can own this house. And when I talk to a billionaire, the billionaire says, the first key to wealth is just owning a home, having something to leave or to levy against. I was like, God damn, my granddad told me that when I was 8. He never became a billionaire, but the wisdom he gave me allowed me to know to live under your means, Michael, to leave something for your children. So when it was time to buy my daughter a house, I bought her a house directly behind my neighbor's house, the same neighborhood I grew up in. You're gonna grow up exactly where I grew up. You're gonna learn the same fundamental things. So this means so much to me. This is the last one of the last memories I have of my grandfather is 20 years ago signing the Monster album when I was at DBS Sounds, and we had sold 700 units, I think, and we had maybe 400 to 500 units left. I said, I know what we're gonna do. We're gonna go to my neighborhood. We went right there to Adamsville and sold the rest of them at Raheem's Seafood. Standing outside, people was buying fish sandwiches and this. So my grandfather came to see it. He came to see this being sold. Like, I had this made. This is one of my favorite statues. I remember being a kid sitting in art class just saying to myself, how the fuck do I steal this, right? The winged victory of Samothrace that I have, this statue of Michael. So I just said, well, I'll become a rapper and I'll get them all made into pieces. When you look at the front, this 9-year-old little buck teeth kid with this flyaway collar on with the horns and the halo, that's me. This isn't a car that's rented. This car is my car. And this car is my car, and it's the only convertible I own. I drive too fast to care about convertibles, but Jagged Edge is my favorite group. Oh, I love Jagged Edge. And I got a call from Bear, who's with me in the morning. He said, hey, Bear talks all the time. He said, hey, get up. I said, why? He said, because Wingo's selling this car, and you need to come buy it. This is the car from Jagged Edge's album, Hard. I bought this car. I'll never sell this car. Now, I'm going to die. My kids might fuck me over. But this is from my group. This means something to me. When we get inside here, that is my gun as well. This is why I don't worry about home invaders. But this picture comes from King T's, being inspired by the picture that King T. Didn't it hit you? Because you were wondering why. Like, why does this? That's the effect that the West Coast had on me. When you see this is right in Southwest Atlanta. This is in the neighborhood that Outkast rapped about when they rapped about being in the SWATs. It's right around the corner from Jelly Beans. Jelly Beans was a skating rink that would stop skating at 8, and then all the kids would turn into a kid club. So when I saw Yo-Yo, I saw her in places like Jelly Beans or Screaming Wheels. You know what I mean? When I saw, not Two Live Crew, when I saw Poison Clan. Like, this means something to me to be in that car, in that neighborhood. When you look on this side, man, you just get vignettes of me. This is my dad, my uncle, aunt, God bless the dead. This is my grandpa, my grandma. This is my great-grandmother, Truzella Blackman, who in 1948, she bought a farm from sharecropping. Her mother had been enslaved. Her husband bought a farm, and I just got the deed. My aunt sent me a picture of it. What was beautiful about the deed to me is people often wonder why I talk about my wife, because I found a partner in her, right? I've been a man. Oh, man, I've been a man. She didn't show up in another woman's house with a pistol before, right? I've been a man. I did all the dumb shit you can do as a man. But I knew this motherfucker was brilliant. I said, this girl grew up in the housing projects. Her grandma ran the liquor store. I know she can count, right? She got a good instinct. She got a good instinct for business. I know she got good sense about her. So everything I've done in conjunction with her in some form of partnership. What was beautiful about seeing my great-grandmothers and knowing her is when I saw her deed, it was signed by N.H. Blackman, who was her husband, and Truzella Blackman. She was not subjugated to anyone. She was not some patsy just some man had. She was an equal partner in her marriage and owner. So it let me know by instinct the example my grandparents had set for me was the right one. So if I do business with a woman, I'm partnering.
do business with my sisters, we're partnering. I don't try to subjugate. And I learned that thanks to her. You know, I remember being sick in Kari. She just used to feel so sorry for me. You know, they call it Kari in the South. You have asthma and things. I couldn't do half the shit my cousins could do on the farm. But she just put me next to her. She feed me, as you could tell, and she talked to me, you know. This is one of the little churches we went to. That's my wife, Shay, right there. That's my grandmother. I think she might have had some wine there because she had a cowboy hat on. That's my other dad right here when her and my mom got married. That's me in the picture. It's me receiving the Beat the Odds Award. This is Reverend James Orange. If you've seen the movie Selma, Omar plays him, plays Glasses. This is who taught me to organize, him and this white woman in the back named Alice Johnson. Alice Johnson was from North Chicago. Was one of the first people to help me understand and gave me the quote, you do not organize for people. You organize with the people or you're not organizing. So these vignettes that you see, this is my mom with her bio dad, Arthur Cluntz. This is Bishop Jean. I always know this was in here. So this is Bishop Jean. This is me in 9th grade. This is me when my daughter graduated nursery, and this is Denise again. All of these people and more have poured into me. This is a representation, this man of them. And it's ironic that my grandmother's side of the charm had flipped on there because usually that side of the charm. This place is special to me. If you've heard a Killer Mike interview, it's called the Blue Flame. Why is the Blue Flame? Well, this is the Blue Flame, but this is not just why it's special to me. This is a sign in the Blue Flame. But so the Blue Flame, there's a man named Charlie Cato. And Charlie Cato would be the Atlanta equivalent to what you guys would know as Bumpy Johnson of Harlem. All right. So Charlie Cato, my father's a rookie police officer, and he's doing intake. You know how they always get the rookies a shitty job, so you're going to get the drunks and stuff that are coming in. Say Mr. Cato came in, immaculate, diamond shining. Say sat out here, got caught drunk driving, crossed his leg, and say anything we could do, because everybody on the west side knew who he was. He was the numbers man, he was the liquors man, not a violent gangster, but you know, the stuff that happened after church. And he said, nah, I'll be all right, young man. He say, my lawyers will come get me, and the white folks don't have to give me my $30,000 back too. And they did. You know, I have grown up in such a rich tapestry of blackness that I wanted to make sure that even this club was represented, because it's unlike other places when you go in Las Vegas that have black talent. The ownership isn't black. The ownership is black at this club. The ownership been black 30, 40 years. The ownership helped buy school uniforms for kids. The ownership helped make sure baseball and basketball uniforms bought. The ownership has spawned business women, has spawned nurses. One of my teachers who became an addict, God bless the dead, and is on the road to redeeming himself, his daughter worked in there, not dancing, but waitressing. And now works on a campaign that just put my face on a martyr card celebrating 50 years of hip-hop. I remember me and my wife told her, now, you done graduated college. It's time to get out the club and go get a real job. You don't need the waitress no more. We know it's a lot of money. This club has produced such good. When people hear me talk about it, they think I'm just talking about me and Shayna going spending some money and seeing naked girls. That's fine, but we could do that anywhere. But will it put money directly into my community? This is directly in my community. It's right where me and T.I. grew up at. Right on the same street as St. Paul's Catholic Church schools, where the mamas who didn't want their girls going to school with boys like us, they'll make them go to St. Paul's. Some of them ended up in the club too, though. God bless them. But I'm just proud of my entire experience. I'm proud of Michael. My thank yous are long. We did it like a church flyer, because they're that, and I know I still forgot people, or there are people I still could mention, but I'm thankful for the people that are here. I'm thankful for the real things that I've achieved, and I'm thankful for all that people have poured into me. And I look forward to getting right back in the studio and, you know, giving you the Godfather too.
Well, we are thankful that you spent some time on your Sunday with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank y'all.
You. So Michael is going to stick around for a little bit and sign some physical copies. Remember, you can't own it if you can't hold it. And thank you all for coming to this very first meeting of the volunteer committee of anything Michael Render chooses to run for.
Thank y'all.
Thank you so much.
I haven't seen the CD yet either.
Oh, all right. So we're gonna have